Sup YouTube, welcome back to another video documenting my journey to legend. I've never hit legend before and I'm hoping to do so for the first time this season. If that's something you think you'd be interested in, definitely consider subscribing to the channel. Now, if you were rolling your eyes at the title of this video, let me explain. But before I do, quick shout out to the following people. Alex Min, who just hit veteran over this past weekend. Congrats, man. Troll Stars, who hasn't trolled me just yet. And Is No Good, who like his name, sometimes maybe good, sometimes maybe not so good. Like the name of this title. Let's hop right into the battles and let me explain exactly what I mean by the algorithm is real, ? Or maybe exclamation point. So up until this point, I've been running this team and I've been seeing pretty good leads for Noctowl, except for a few misses here and there. However, what I was seeing a lot of leads week 2 was Fire. And I don't have a Charizard built for the Great League just yet, but I did want to try out Alolan Marowak because it was going to do well against those fighters, those Trev leads, and some of the steel types that I was seeing, like Registeel, that were hard countering Noctowl. And this battle right here was what decided, or was where I decided to finally switch out the lead, because I was starting to see more hard counters to a Noctowl lead. And so you'll see at the end of this battle, I built up a team to hard counter what I was seeing in the meta up until this point. I dropped a few elo from the previous video. Here I run into the Stunfisk and I just knew the game was over at that point. So I built up the AWAC and my first lead, not a single water lead the entire time I was running Noctowl in the lead. There were ice, there were steel, there were lanterns. Well, I guess lantern is a water. But there were very few lantern leads, but not a single water lead like a Pelipper or an Azu, or anything like that would hard counter a AWAC. There weren't even a lot of Stunfisk leads, if I'm being honest. So I decided to build up AWAC, and my first battle with it was a goddamn Pelipper, which just absolutely breaks this team. This team is clearly weak to any dragon. It's clearly weak to a Pelipper. It's weak to just a lot of things, right? This isn't the best built team. And the reason I showcase these battles is just kind of for kicks and giggles, but also because, like, I almost quit there, but I wasn't too sure. I figured if I could get another fire spin damage on this thing, I could win. Maybe. So I played it out. And in the back, as you're going to see, is a Medi and 2 shields up. There's nothing I can do. So I'm still rocking the Marowak lead, and here's an Azumarill lead. The only Azu lead that I've seen in like the past 5 sets. Most Azus that I've run into, if I run into them, have been running Hydro Pump. So as you're going to see, this one is also running Hydro Pump because it throws the Play Rough. Otherwise, it would have thrown, maybe it would have thrown the Ice Beam. But it does decide to dump its energy. And then once they swap out, there's a goddamn jump pluff. There hasn't been a single jump pluff the entire time that I've been battling, not even during Go Battle Day. So I switched to a Reggie lead to counteract those teams, and then I'm met with a goddamn Medi. And I swap into Venu because there hasn't been too many hard counters to a Venu. And of course, I met with a Noctowl lead. So at this point, I'm just kind of messing around and trying to see if the algorithm is real, quote unquote. I switch back Marowak and I see another Azu lead. So I just hard quit. And then I decide, you know what? I'm going to run a Zapdos that has been hard countering pretty much a lot of these leads that I've been running into, right? Flyers, waters, and go figure. I try to read the meta, run a team that also has its clear weaknesses, right? I was trying to build up against Stunfisk. Venusaur has a pretty good matchup there, but I'm clearly weak to a dragon lead. Not the best against I don't really know, maybe like an Obstagoon lead, a Stunfisk lead, obviously, right? Like I said, but I did find success running Zapdos, and this isn't the best structured team. But as you're going to see, it puts in a lot of work. I ended up blowing a ton of dust on this team, or on the Zapdos rather. and this obstacle was going straight obstruct. I was not buying it, right? Like 2 shielded Zapdos is gonna do a lot of work. We do land a few of those Zap Cannons. I wanted to run it for the lulz and not actual seriousness, but it ended up really coming in clutch. Look at this, a Toxicroak that I really haven't run into, but I mean, Zapdos does pretty good against it. We find a Drapion safe swap, one of the few Drapions that I've seen. Swampert is a great safe swap for it. I figured they're gonna be running Aqua Tail, so I throw on 4. I don't think that was a CMP, maybe it was. It was. And now I can shield one more time, and I can outpace them to the next move after this. So I think they know it, and that's why they let this go and come back in with like Toxie to get a bit of a farm down. But as you can see, Zapdos lead is doing pretty clutch. I'm gonna try Zapdos again because I think, like Charizard, oh look at this, look at this sexy thing. Can we land it? Yes we do! Nearly one-shots a Reggie, man. That is insane. And at this point, I know I can rely on Zapdos, even if they sludge me, which they do. Zapdos just has an insane amount of play against this thing, even though it's so frail. I feel like a few Thunder Shocks would have taken it out at that point. Look, another Noctowl lead. So I think maybe a Charizard lead might be pretty solid, but you have to build against Stunfisk at that point. And Charizard up energy, right? Like let's say you're running Charizard and Reggie in the back. You bring in the Reggie to the Stunfisk. They might stay in because they can land the EQ. But if they do decide to swap out into like a Medicham or something, or like a Noctowl, you can build up energy and eventually have enough to blast burn that Stunfisk, especially if you have a Shadow. So we're playing out the shield scenario here. They make us swap into Blastoise, or maybe they just did catch, and I wanted to throw some damage before bringing in the Venu. They were close to another move, so I bring in... Did they miscount? I think they probably miscounted, because they let me get to the Frenzy Plant, which I don't think should have happened. But now I don't outpace to the Ice Punch. So I'm in a bit of a tricky spot here. I know Swampert can survive one move, but I try to get fancy and catch what I thought would be a Dynamic Punch or a Scald. But we do win CMP, and because this is Shadow on Shadow, it does enough damage to take it out. Now here we finally run into the into an odd lead. I hadn't run into many Walreins. I'd run into Alone and Ninetales, which also would have been difficult for this team, but not many Walreins. And here, if I had Thunderbolt, I probably wouldn't have baited because they'd be expecting me to bait, maybe. But I do end up going for the Drill Peck. I do CMP tie, and I don't think I can Thunder Shock down before they get to another move. So I decide to let this go. Maybe a mistake, maybe not, but I do come in with Walrein to farm down, and I'm met with a Venu. And I'm kind of glad because I have Swampert in the back, and that wouldn't have done too well. And when I was building up this team, I was like, what can counter a Stunfisk, but also put in work against some Swamperts that I was seeing? And they bring in the Pelipper, and that's when I was like, oh my god, Pelipper. That's right, Pelipper does pretty solid work here. So I think I might try this team again, maybe double flyer strat with an AWAC. I don't know yet, because like that would be incredibly weak to Stunfisk, but Stunfisk can put some work against a Alolan Marowak can put some work in against the AWAC. Jesus Christ. Alolan Marowak can put in some work against the Stunfisk, but so can Pelipper. And so I could kind of like try to combo them there, and then Zapdos with enough energy, like 2 Drill Pecks hit really hard. At that point, maybe they're in like 2 Drill Peck range is what I'm like, you know, the imaginary scenario I'm thinking of in my head. Here we have another horrible lead. I believe this was the Stunfisk lead. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm like kind of spacing out, trying to collect my thoughts. And, you know, they come with the Noctowl, and I'm like, all right, you know what? Screw it. I'm going to farm as much as I can before they get to the Shadow Ball. If they throw the Sky Attack, even better, but they do throw the Shadow Ball, so I CMP them. Maybe I could have farmed. But I think the Stunfisk was close to the move. And what do they have in the back but a Trev? Because, you know, this meta is really friendly to Trev. Then again, they are running Stunfisk in the lead, so right, you know, prepare for the Medicham, which is like the most common fighter. So I think maybe a Medi in the back, but some teams are just like really hard countering Medi. We did manage to climb a little bit with this, but again, from the 2600, I kind of dropped, so this isn't really saying much. But Zapdos was core breaking a lot, and I just think maybe a slightly different flyer in the lead, maybe even a Pelipper lead if I can build around that Stunfisk, because I believe Pelipper does win in the 2 shields. But we'll see. We'll see how my next battles go. But yeah, I wanted to showcase some fun battles. Poke a little fun at the algorithm. Do I believe in an algorithm that hard counters you and somehow favors your opponent? No, not exactly. But do I believe in potentially reading the meta and building against it and managing to have some favorable leads? I do think that that's more of a thing. But again, like, my team comps are clearly pretty shit. You know, I'm no Caleb Pang. I don't know how to build teams for the meta, but I'm slowly working at it, and hopefully we can start climbing, because again, I'm tired of being stagnated at the same elo range. But yeah, I just wanted to show you some fun battles. Hopefully it wasn't too clickbaity with the title, but yeah, I mean, if you have Shadows Zapdos, give it a try. It might be a ton of fun. I definitely had a lot of fun doing these battles. So yeah, I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.